Staff Member Davis, can you hear us okay?
That's awesome.
I can.
Thank you.
That's so fun.
This is Board Member Doyle. We resume the meeting following break. It is 11 a.m. Refer it back to Staff Member Davis to continue conversations on package C1 about vaccinations. We resumed with a discussion surrounding rule number 855-041-1040.
All right. Staff Member Davis. So the modification that we propose to make is in paren 2. This is about a drug outlet, its policies and procedures, and it states that written policies and procedures must include at a minimum the responsibilities of the drug outlet pharmacy, including, in paren I, it reads, waiting for Staff Member Melvin to get there. Great. Certified organ pharmacy technician or pharmacy technician, final verification and or vaccination if utilized. We're adding the word vaccination. And then in paren L, adding a line that says disposal of drugs and or devices, including hazardous and pharmaceutical waste. This was in 855-019-0280 that we talked about earlier, where it had the pharmacy must maintain written policies and procedures for handling and disposal of used or contaminated equipment and supplies. That's not where it should be. It should not be a pharmacist rule. It needs to be in the outlet rules. And so the outlet needs to have policies and procedures on disposal of drugs or devices, including hazardous and pharmaceutical waste. Those are the only two changes to that rule. Back to you, President Doyle, for any board discussion.
Board Member Doyle, thank you. I believe there might not be a lot of conversation, so I'm just asking for raised hands if there are any questions in this section. Member Beeman.
Member Beeman, I like it, and I really appreciate and want to highlight the if utilized, because I think that's another safeguard, is that it's not mandatory that technicians vaccinate. I know it's a business decision, basically. We're providing the allowance to do so, but if a technician is not comfortable doing so, that we're not holding them to it. So I just want to highlight the if utilized.
Staff Member Davis, I apologize. We had added a line on line 252. The drug outlet pharmacy and the pharmacist in charge is accountable for establishing, maintaining, and enforcing written policies and procedures for the drug outlet pharmacy in compliance with federal and state regulations. I think we had added that just because the disposal of hazardous and pharmaceutical waste is generally regulated by various entities. Like within Oregon, you have DEQ, but then at the federal level, you have the RCRA Act and different things. So we had just added that to make sure that it was explicitly clear.
Looking for the room for any other raised hands or comments. Board Member Doyle, just so I make sure I understand board members' comment about board member Beeman's comment about if utilized. Can you point me to the direction on the line number you're referring to?
This is board member Beeman. It is it's item I, starts on 276 and on 277. It's been there. It was previously there after the final verification. And what Staff Member Davis has added in is and/or vaccination. That's the change to the item. But I think it's just important to highlight. It's not that every pharmacy has to have every technician do this if it doesn't fit their business model.
Member Doyle, thank you for that clarification. Seeing no other hands, I refer back to Staff Member Davis to continue conversation on 855-139-0600.
Okay, so this is about our remote dispensing site pharmacies. Some people, our state law refers to them as telepharmacies. This is where a certified organ pharmacy technician or pharmacy technician works in a pharmacy where a pharmacist is not physically present. We have two modifications to the prohibited practices for the board to consider. First, allow the RDSP must not allow a certified organ pharmacy technician or pharmacy technician to, paren A, refuse a request from a patient, patient's agent, or practitioner to interact with a pharmacist. We simply are changing this language because it matches the language that we have currently proposed in 855-125-0150, and we believe it's much cleaner and better understood language than the language that's currently in rule. Paren B is new. It's administer a vaccine. Because 2023 House Bill 2486 does not authorize a COPT or PT to administer the medications for treatment of an emergency reaction, a COPT or PT at a pharmacy that does not have a pharmacist physically present would not be able to administer vaccines. Back to you, President Doyle, for board discussion.
Board Member Doyle, will go around robin for this rule, beginning with Board Member Patel.
Board Member Patel, no comments.
Board Member Doyle, agree with what's proposed. Board Member Chin,
No comment.
Member Hall,
Board Member Hall, no comment.
Board Member Joyce,
Member Joyce, no comment.
Member Liverman,
Board Member Viberman, no comments.
Board Member McMillan,
No comment.
reviewing.
Member Viberman, no comment.
Q, Staff Member Davis, we've concluded package C1. Any further needs from you with regards to C1? Staff Member Davis?
No, we are ready to move to C2.
Okay. Board Member Doyle, Staff Member Davis, please begin introducing C2.
Staff Member Davis, while Staff Member Melvin gets C2 open, this is going to be the board's first review of proposed rule language for the revision of rules to permit a pharmacist to administer an influenza vaccine to persons who are 6 months of age or older, beginning January 1, 2024, pursuant to House Bill 2278 in 2023. And permit a COPT or PT to administer a vaccine under the supervision of a pharmacist, also effective 1/1/2024, pursuant to 2023 House Bill 2486. So this is somewhat similar to what the rules we just talked about. The rules we talked about in C1 were 19 and 25. These are the new rules that become effective in March. And so now this is just considering very similar changes, but it's a little different because we've gone in, we've cleaned up the mess that was 019, 270, 280, and 290. And so the language just looks maybe slightly different. So we still need to go through it. Maybe it will take less time, maybe it will take more time. I have no idea. So the first rule in the package is 855-115-0305. This is where we had condensed kind of all the information about administering a vaccine for a pharmacist. In paren 1, it says, in accordance with ORS 689645 and 689655, a pharmacist may administer a vaccine, drug, or device as specified in the rule. The pharmacist must be acting, and in paren A, we've added under the direction of or pursuant to a lawful prescription or order issued by a licensed practitioner acting within the scope of the practitioner's practice. Paren B, in accordance with a statewide drug therapy management protocol per 855-115-0345, or paren C, in accordance with a clinical pharmacy agreement or collaborative drug therapy management agreement per 855-115-0315. And we just have a note to ourselves to make sure that we're consistent when we do the motions, because this language is also in other mailings. We have moved up a rule. There was previously, when the board looked at this, we had paren 4. And we've talked about the pharmacist must be acting under the direction of a prescription, statewide management protocol, or an OHA protocol. We've moved 4 up to paren 1. So it's right at the very beginning, what gives the pharmacist authority to vaccinate or administer a drug. Additional changes were made in B and C from the previous mailing on this product, on this rule, because this package also contemplates CPAs. And in March, we anticipate that the pharmacist would no longer be following OHA protocols and that they would only be providing vaccines pursuant to a statewide drug therapy management protocol that will replace the OHA protocols. So the OHA language is not included in paren 1. Again, if the board makes other decisions later in the day, then we will need to go back and modify this. And so we won't be motioning until all the rules have been considered about immunizations. Paren 2, a pharmacist who administers a vaccine, drug, or device must, prior to the administration of the injectable drug or device, receive practical training on the injection site and administration technique that is utilized. For orally administered drugs, training is not required. All the language that was struck in this rule has been moved down to paren 3. So we've just kind of reorganized the rule. Same language you saw before about holding active CPR certification and how those records must be retained. Same information in C, D, E, F. Nothing changed there. And paren 3, this was the same language you saw in the last time you reviewed this rule package regarding pharmacist supervision of vaccination. So this is to match what we just talked about in the other Division 19 rule. So for vaccines only, the requirements in 2 and the following apply, and the pharmacist who administers or supervises each administration of a vaccine to a patient must complete training that includes the hands-on injection technique, clinical evaluation of indications and contraindications to vaccines, and the recognition and treatment of emergency reactions to vaccines. The training may include programs approved by ACPE, curriculum-based programs from an ACPE accredited college or school of pharmacy. Thank you, staff member Melvin. State or local health department programs, training by appropriately qualified practitioner, or programs approved by the board. And then this is the same language: make vaccine recommendations, select each vaccine to be administered, ensure compliance with 1, which was all the routes by which a pharmacist can order and administer a drug or vaccine. Ensure the appropriate BIS statement is provided to the patient. Perform verification prior to administration that includes, not limited to, prescription order accuracy and vaccine product accuracy review. Advise or counsel on therapeutic values, contents, hazards, and use of each vaccine, and manage adverse events. And then you will see a bunch of strike through, A through D. Those were incorporated into other places within the rule. Paren I is the reporting adverse events to VAERS. And then paren J, verify accuracy and completeness of documentation for administration. K, ensure all persons administering vaccines under their supervision are appropriately trained and qualified. M, follow the guidance in the CDC's vaccine and storage handling toolkit. And N, have access to the current edition of the CDC reference, Epidemiology and Prevention of Vaccine Preventable Diseases. I already mentioned that paren 4 was moved up earlier in rule, so it's now in the paren 1 spot, so right at the beginning. Paren 5 has not had a change. Paren 6, just a minor change about records and documents. And then additional language in paren 7. This is the same language that you saw in the previous rule package. And then paren 8 is the same change we just saw in the last rule package. And so I think we probably need to change paren 8 to match what the board determined in the last rule package. And I have that language. Just give me a second. I just need to pull it up for you. Okay, so the last sentence: in administering a vaccine must be immediately available to the vaccinator to respond in the case of an adverse reaction and any other issues that may arise. Okay. And that's all I have for that part, or for that rule.
Board Member Doyle, thank you. For Staff Member Davis, my understanding is that you're opening the floor for comment on everything contained within 855-115-0305.
Correct.
With that, the round robin, my turn to start. I don't have any substantive comments or recommendations to this rule. Board Member Chin,
There's no comments.
Member Hall,
Board Member Hall, no comments.
Member Joyce,
Former just, at the end of line 37, I'm just trying to figure out what that is. Character after utilized.
Member Doyle, it appears to be a semicolon that is being struck out and a period added.
Correct.
Alrighty, I thought it was something on my screen at first. That's all, no comment.
Board Member Viverman,
Board Member Viverman, my only comment is that I don't want a pharmacy technician in that second.
which sentence, please?
And the, may administer, national certified technician, a COT versus a PT.
Member Evans,
Member Higgins, 127.
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
120, Board Member Hemmings, 127K. Ensure all persons administering vaccinations under their supervision are appropriately trained and qualified. The use of the word supervision there, means passive supervision.
Board Member Doyle, my understanding of the definition of supervision that had been previously read by Staff Member Davis when discussing a similar context in the previous rule package C1 was that it was active supervision or an active status. Member Chin,
Board Member Chin, I think it's always did with a pharmacy tech.
Member Evans,
Board Member Hemmings, I'm trying to figure out how to explain what I'm trying to say when I say active versus passive supervision. Because supervision in this context, you're referring to the definition of supervision within your rules. Correct?
Member Doyle, yes, that's what I'm referring to.
I'll move on until we get to the next section, 173, 1. Thank you.
Member Beeman,
Board Member Beeman, I have no comments.
Member Patel,
Remember, but a clarifying question. Did we add, A, B, and C, that means line 26, 29, and 31, or it was always been there?
Staff Member Davis,
It was down in paren 4. We moved it up in the rules since the last time you saw it. And we made a couple of modifications that I went over when I was going over the rule.
I think I also raised the same concern last time too, if I remember. But then in the A, so let's say, for example, long-acting injection is admin by the pharmacist. So according to all the three, either the pharmacist can admin long-acting injection if they have protocol or if they have CDTM, or the licensed practitioner have to write down in the prescription pharmacist to admin LAI. They understand, right?
Those are all three situations where a pharmacist could administer under the rule.
So let's say, there's some pharmacy that in the behavioral healthcare and the pharmacists, they do admin right now, long-acting injection. They have to have, if the, let's say, scriber forget to write down the direction, now the pharmacist cannot admin. And it was not the case before. But it was always been there. I don't think so. It was before all those modifications. I think pharmacist can administer long-acting injection, but if we add this one, and the practitioner have to write down on the prescription pharmacist to admin long-acting injection, or especially I'm talking about antipsychotic, like Invega and all. Do we want to do that?
This is Staff Member Davis. So in ORS 689-655, a pharmacist may administer a drug or device if the pharmacist is acting under the direction of or pursuant to a lawful prescription or order issued by a licensed practitioner, acting within the scope of practitioner's practice and in accordance with the rules adopted by the board. Our rule is just a repeat of the statute. There's no change in its applicability.
I don't have any comment right now, but I have to do my research. I think there's a difference than what we had previously, before all those changes and now. And if I can, I feel like it will negatively impact behavior healthcare patient. But I had to do a little bit research. I think that is different.
Member Doyle, I believe that we've done the round robin. Are there any other comments or questions with regard to this rule? Hearing none, let's please move on to next rule, Staff Member Davis, 855-125-0305.
Okay, hold on, I just need to. Okay, so this is a repeat of the rule language you just saw in 855-025-0122, I think was the number. It's the exact same language without any modifications. I don't think we made any modifications to it, but if we did, we'll need to make the same modifications. To save my voice and time, I'm not going to reread the rule. Line 204 needs to say a CPE accredited college or school of pharmacy.
in 201.
And take out the commas.
I can go back and look too. Staff Member Davis. Okay.
Great.
Member
I think that
Davis, sorry, Staff Member Melvin, I believe is there text required? Is there text required at the end of line 201? Or
No, that. Staff Member Melvin, I'm sorry. In paren 4, it ends in a period. Are you thinking it needs to be something else?
the question on the floor at this time is there text that had been in
Oh.
the prior rule that needs to be repeated here? There had been the text if, I'm sorry, board member Chin.
The adverse, it reaction or event, I can't remember which one you used, or any other blah, blah, blah. That's what we added to this statement previously. The other two rules.
Staff Member Melvin, I think the best course of action would be for me to revise this during our lunch break, if that's okay, so I can open that other rule and make sure this all matches properly and highlight it. Does that sound okay?
Yes, we'll go back at the break and verify that, and then it will be elucidated during the voting procedure, whether or not it is indeed that edited text on package C1 is also applicable to package C2. So I believe that I had gone through board members in member Hall, board member Joyce, and board member Ripperman.
Board member Clifford. So,
Board member.
Okay. Board member Hammond, let me see if I can, explain what I'm trying to say about the term use of the term supervision. Currently, pharmacy tech, the certified pharmacy tech not operate, work without being under the supervision of a pharmacist, correct? Period. Okay. So what I'm saying is, are we okay with saying that there doesn't need to be a different level of distinction with supervision when we're now adding that a pharmacy tech and certified pharmacy tech can administer vaccines? Do you understand what I'm saying now?
Member Doyle will do a round robin actually to ask that question. We'll start with the board members meeting.
Member Beeman, I will pass for now and you can time on that one.
Member Patel.
But, yes, I understand your question, board member Hamming. I understand. So the answer is like, no, we don't want different supervision just because they are administration vaccine. We don't want that. And the reason behind that, if you change and if you do active, like if I'm going to keep supervising technician, might as well I just give them vaccine. You know what I mean? Like me looking at their shoulder is just defeat the purpose of me as a pharmacist do other clinical tasks. My technician do admin the vaccine, and I'm still there to take care of every adverse reaction, or if the technician has any question, like this is the scenario, should I admin vaccine? That was my understanding.
Member Doyle, certified Oregon pharmacy technicians and pharmacy technicians are always involved in activities that require a high level of responsibility and appropriate training. So whether it be managing a controlled substance or administering a vaccination, it is my understanding and belief that that there cannot be an effectively teasing out, or does there need to be a difference in the level of supervision between any of the tasks that a pharmacy technician can do, in that it is the assistance of the practice of pharmacy. Member Chin.
Remember, Chin, as I understand pharmacist and pharmacy tech rules and the supervision rule, I do not believe that you need any additional strength to that, and agree with board member Patel about the eyes on. We don't do that in medical settings for MAs. You have the training, you are available, if there's concerns or questions, you get called and you're available immediately. I don't think there's another level of supervision that is indicated. For hall, prove what everyone said, and I don't think we need to change the supervision definition part of it any different, just because they're doing vaccines.
Member Joyce?
Former Rejoice, so in state law, the technician works under the supervision, direction, and control of a pharmacist. I don't think anywhere in state rules does it say, quote, direct supervision. It's always been direction, control, and supervision. Those three words kind of go hand in hand. When techs work under a pharmacist, but I've never seen anywhere in state law or language that it says direct supervision. But to echo everyone else's statement, the pharmacists are always supervising the techs one way or another.
Member Berman?
Always the odd man out. Always. This is Board Member Biberman. I thank you for that comment and the differences that you make. I'm speaking as a person that's here for public safety. I could agree that it should be a closer look. And I think that in these rules, we have done that because it does say for immediate, what's the wordage? Availability. I think that, for me anyway, that is the higher level. That means that, for me, in my understanding, that, I can't be sitting at my desk doing this work and my pharmacist be on the floor, but available to me. It means that, my pharmacist must be immediately available, which is, hey, I need help. And that's what it needs to be. So, I think that I totally agree that this, because, yes, we are trained, yes. We have never expected that, but have we ever allowed technicians to immunize in this state through our rules? No. I agree that it should be a higher level, but I think that I'm okay with the language in here because it does say that. And if it didn't say that, I may have a different response, but that's my opinion on that, so.
Reverend Hemmons, thank you.
Member Beeman, an opportunity for you to read again.
I agree with the way it was phrased in the comments, right? Appreciate that.
Member Hemmons, do you have any follow-up questions?
Nope.
If I'm tracking correctly, we've been continuing to discuss 855-125-0305 in that rule.
Board Member Beeman, I think it's what it is, and where it needs to be, and in terms of the conversation around needing to add language to item 4, it was a different statement and added the language to it, a different line, so I don't think that's where it needs to be added. Thank you.
Yeah, real quick, Staff Member Davis, you did not direct us to change anything in paren 4 in the other rule.
Okay, thanks for looking.
Board Member Doyle, thank you for the clarification, which echoes that of Board Member Beeman. Board Member Patel, any comments on 0305?
Remember, but don't know.
Board Member Doyle, no comments.
Member Chin, no comment? Member Hall, no comment.
Member Rejoice, no comment.
Board Member Viverman, no comment.
I believe that completes the round robin. And the conclusion of talking about package C2. I'm pausing in case I missed an opportunity to hear from somebody. Seeing none, we'll close discussion on package C2 and we'll transition to conversation around package C10.
Staff member Davis, yes, we're going to go to package C10. We're going to keep talking about vaccinations because some of the rules we just discussed would be impacted if the board makes changes to this rule package. So this is the board's first review of proposed rule language for the revision of rules to move vaccination protocols from authorship and publication by the Oregon Health Authority to authorship by subject matter experts, including the Oregon Health Authority and licensed pharmacists, review by the Public Health and Pharmacy Formulary Committee, or PFAC, and review and rule adoption by the board. Utilizing this process is consistent with all other statewide protocols that have been referred to the board by the PFAC. In OAR 855-010-0021 is our rule about adoption by reference, and it states that the board adopts standards and other publications by reference as necessary through administrative rule. When a matter is included in a reference publication that is in conflict with ORS or OARs, the statute or rule applies and the standard provision does not. All remaining parts or application of the standard remain in effect. All outside standards, statutes, rules, and publications referred to in any rules adopted by the board are those by reference made a part of those rules as through fully set forth, and copies are available for inspection in the board office. I'd like to show you a slide to kind of discuss how staff propose these rules to be moved through the rulemaking process. And so staff member Melvin, if you'll open that PowerPoint. It's a little bit of a confusing and lots of moving pieces. So
Here you go.
okay. So what we're proposing today is that these initial rules to move the protocols that OHA has been authoring over to be under the PFAC. This would be the process for today. So the PFAC has already motioned to send the vaccination protocols to the board for review. That happened last week or earlier this week and back in September. They've sent all of them to you. The board will review the vaccination protocols and then send a permanent rule in Division 20 for vaccination protocols for adoption for rulemaking hearing. All the protocols would be reviewed by the public and have opportunity to comment at the rulemaking hearing on November 21st, 2023. The board then can consider to adopt the amendments to Division 20 and add the vaccination protocols into Division 20. Board staff propose an effective date of 2/1/2024 for the permanent rule for Division 20 vaccination protocols. Kind of thinking similarly to what we did with contraception. We don't really like a 1/1 effective date. It's the holidays. There's a lot going on. An effective date of 2/1 would allow us to message this appropriately and also not have it bump up against the new licensee rules that are effective on 3/1. The board would then potentially at the February meeting adopt a temporary rule to amend the Division 115 vaccination protocols. We have to do this as a temporary rule because we accidentally allowed you to adopt the rule in Division 115, and so it's now locked and can't be touched until 3/1. However, the board can adopt a temporary rule that would be effective on 3/1, and then we can send it through the full rulemaking process. The effective date of 3/1/2024 for a temporary rule in Division 115, that would remain on the books for 180 days. At April, we can send the permanent rule for a rulemaking hearing in May, and then permanent adoption of the protocols into 115. Next slide, I think. Is there a second slide, or is it just that one?
Go.
Okay. And then ongoing, like, what is this gonna look like? I think that's the major question we keep getting asked is, what is this gonna look like for revisions? So when ACIP makes a new recommendation, I get those notices, so I just got one today of ACIP published 3 or 4 new MMWRs with recommendations. Our subject matter experts can submit on the protocol feedback form that we need to make a modification to one of the protocols. I can also reach out to them when I see a notification and to help assess the priority and see how quickly this needs to be made. So if it's urgent, we will hold a special PFAC meeting, which is what we did earlier this week to address 2 of the protocols that needed changing. If it's not urgent, we will add it to the next PFAC meeting agenda. Typically, ACIP changes are only made a few times a year when they meet. But of course, with COVID, the new RSV vaccine and some other things, there's been some more urgent matters that have had to be attended to. The PFAC will motion to send the amended vaccination protocol to the board. If it's urgent, again, we can have a special board meeting to adopt the updated protocol. If it's not urgent, it will just be added to the next board meeting agenda. The board can consider the amended protocol. Again, if it's urgent, we can do a temporary rule for 180 days and then initiate rulemaking at the next board meeting. If it's not urgent, it will just stay in the scheduled board meeting packet, go to rulemaking hearing, and then be adopted by a permanent rule. So that's kind of a high level. I'm going to repeat some stuff a few times because it takes a little bit to wrap our heads around it, and that's okay. So in your board meeting, I'm done with that presentation, by the way.
Okay.
In the board meeting agenda packet, there are 2 packages related to this concept. The first is the amendment to Division 20, which is where our current pharmacist prescribing rules are located. And the second is a temporary rule that would be effective on 3/1/2024 for Division 115 and the new pharmacist rules. Again, as I mentioned earlier, at August 2023 board meeting, I failed to pull out and the board adopted OAR 855-115-0345 for pharmacist services related to prescribing in the protocol compendium. So due to limitations in the state's rulemaking filing system, the rule is stuck and we just can't touch it until on or after 3/1/2024. So staff are proposing for the board to send these vaccination protocols and the associated amended rule through Division 20 to permit licensees, stakeholders, and the public to make comment on the protocols or rules. If we were just to hold this and do a temporary rule effective 3/1, it would not give the public the opportunity to make comment. And we feel it's very important with this massive of a shift that the public be given the opportunity to make comment and on all the protocols. So if the board then chooses to adopt the protocols or rules into Division 20 at the December 2023 meeting, we would propose an effective date of 2/1/2024, again, allowing board staff time to communicate the change with licensees and outlets and not coincide with the new year. Then at the February board meeting, the board can consider a temporary rule, which we have included in the packet. That's what C11 is. For your reference, we do not need to take any action on C11. We just wanted to let you know what that would look like and that we would bring that back at the next board meeting. Today, the board will consider sending the proposed rules to the November 2023 rulemaking hearing and potentially adopt in December 2023 to be effective February 1, 2024. Okay, so for the rules. Just also, I want you to be aware that board staff have met with the Oregon Immunization Program, which is a department of OHA. We started these conversations back in September of 2021 to discuss moving these protocols from OHA to under the PFAC to be consistent with our rules about adopting outside standards by reference. So OIP will serve as one of the subject matter experts and will continue to assist in authoring and revising vaccination protocols along with our other pharmacist subject matter experts. The protocols will be reviewed by the formulary committee and referred to the board to be adopted by reference. We have kept OHA updated on the progress of this transition. They're aware that you're reviewing this package at this board meeting, and are prepared to have to take down the website at such a time when the protocols are no longer housed by OHA. So the rule is pretty simple. It's 855-020-0300, and this has the list of all the things a pharmacist may prescribe via statewide drug therapy management protocol. I made one little small change in paren C just to move the abbreviations, but then paren H is where you'll see the change. So effective 2/1/2024, vaccinations, and then for the protocols, there are 2 standard protocols for all vaccines. And so rather than repeat the information at the front of each protocol, just making the protocols really long, the subject matter experts recommended that these 2 protocols stand alone and be used in conjunction with each vaccine specific protocol. Please note that the subject matter experts built all of these protocols off of the current protocols published by OHA. And I do just want to mention our subject matter experts have spent hours and hours of their lives and their evenings working on these protocols. The main 2 were Amy Valdez and Crystal Sharp, but also the residents at the Fred Meyer PGY1 community program and the Safeway community residency program also were very involved in writing all of these. So the first protocol is paren A, a standard protocol for all vaccines. This is the cover page assessment and treatment care pathway. It's going to be a standardized, Rachel, can you open it?
Yes, I'm so sorry. I was doing something else. What's the mailing number? Do you know?
I don't, it's whatever the first protocol is.
Give me just a second. How about this? The cover page and assessment treatment care pathway.
Uh-huh. So this
Excuse me.
is the standardized cover page and assessment and treatment care pathway that will be utilized when giving any vaccine. The cover page looks similar to all the other protocol cover pages, listing the authority and purpose, the standardized assessment process elements, and any pharmacist training, education, and resources. And for these protocols, it just refers the pharmacist to complete the training that's currently in rule. The assessment and treatment care pathway on the next page follows the Joint Commission of Pharmacy Practitioners, or JCPP, pharmacist patient care process. The process is applicable to any practice setting where pharmacists provide patient care and for any patient care service provided by pharmacists. The process is to collect, assess, plan, implement, and follow up. Now, if you'll open the next protocol, Rachel.
Okay.
The next protocol is the standard protocol for all vaccines, and this is the managing adverse reactions. This protocol also follows the pharmacist patient care process and then lists out specific protocols for anaphylaxis, loss of consciousness or syncope, and urticaria. It has a couple of appendices. Appendix A is an adverse event record tool. Appendix B is a medication and equipment list. And Appendix C is a tool to help recognize anaphylaxis. You were provided with all of these in your mailing, so I'm not going to go through them line by line, just kind of giving you a general overview of what they look like. Okay. So next we're going to open the cholera protocol. So you can see just kind of the standardized template that the SMEs have used to develop the protocols. Again, this looks relatively similar to the OHA protocol documents. They were trying not to make them look too foreign or unfamiliar. So the protocol for cholera is the first vaccine-specific protocol on the list. Each protocol uses that similar format. So in what's new, this section is written based on what is new or different since the last OHA protocol was published. And that's the way we're making the transition. And then in the future, it would just say what's new since the last time the rule was revised and the protocol was updated. The second section, immunization protocol, this is the indication section. Or section 3 is the vaccine schedule. Each vaccine that is covered under the protocol and any spacing that is needed between doses is included here. In in 4, licensed vaccines list each product, its components, presentations, the FDA approved age range, and the product contains thimerosal, how much is contained in the product. In the recommendations for use section, these are based on ACIP's recommendations for use. Contraindications for each vaccine as outlined in the patient product package insert. Warnings and precautions, again, this is from the package insert. Other considerations, this is based on ACIP and package insert considerations. Side effects and adverse reactions, also from the package insert. Storage and handling from the package insert, references that were used to develop the protocol. And if there is an appendix, which is section 12, most vaccines are not going to have appendices. However, there are a few that do. One example is COVID-19. It includes a vaccination schedule for people who are moderately or severely immunocompromised. MMR and varicella have an appendix with recommended intervals between the administration of antibody-containing products and those vaccines. And then for meningococcal B, pneumococcal, and RSV vaccines, there is a CDC tool for shared clinical decision-making. Do board members have any questions or comments on any of the protocols? And this is back to you, Board Member Doyle.
Board Member Doyle. Thank you for the explanation. Begin with Board Member Chin.
Member Chin has no comments.
Member Hall.
Board Member Hall, no comment.
Member Joyce.
Board Member Joyce, excellent work. Looks great. Thanks.
Member Hooverman.
Board Member Hooverman, no comment. Member Hemmings, no comment.
Member Freeman, no comment.
Board Member Patel. So when you said if you have any question on the protocols you just presented, right? There was for all vaccine, then there is a protocol for the adverse reaction, right?
The question was, do you have any questions on any of the protocols? The committee has already reviewed them and recommended them to the board.
So we have right now we have the Oregon Health Authority immunization protocol. So this one is going to replace the current one. I'm kind of confused.
Correct. The OHA protocols will go away and the board will be adopting protocols in our rules, and the protocols will be housed on the Board of Pharmacy's website.
Gotcha, that makes sense. But then on the all vaccination, the one I have comment on the Jack alert. Because if you can pull up that one, because right now Oregon Health Authority protocol, they say this is recommended, not required. For all the protocols, and according to this new protocol you are proposing, the only reason is yes, checking alert is great, everyone should do it, but then there is some time that website don't open, then I don't want to not admin that immunization to that patient. And I want to clarify, not for me, for all the licensing, because I don't want to see the case that you didn't check alert and there's a disciplinary action. So I just want to make sure that one. Check
Rachel,
alert is recommended or required.
Rachel, can you open the first protocol?
The cover page assessment.
Yeah,
Okay. Just like it.
thank you.
What? Yeah,
Just,
second.
I don't-
It wasn't sharing. Hold on. We didn't see the red box.
I could see it.
That's weird. We couldn't. Okay. Now, but
I'm not sure where alert is listed in here, so you're just gonna have to scroll until we get to the spot where it talks about alert.
Yeah, there you go. Check alert immunization registry system. So that one is great and I like it, but I'm just thinking about those cases sometimes
Sure.
that they unable to open the alert and they give immunization and then take disciplinary action. That's what I was trying to avoid here.
Not a problem. I'm gonna propose some language, Rachel, if you could type into the protocol. I've got the OHA protocol pulled up and I think it would satisfy the concern. So after check the alert immunization system, if you'll add if alert is unavailable, use documentation and patient statement.
documentation and patient statement.
Correct. That's what the OHA protocol states to do when the system is down.
I don't know that's right. This is board member Patel. So right now I open up the Oregon Health Authority immunization, influenza protocol, and you can open up any other protocol. But for them, I'm going to read word to word. Or Oregon immunization protocol for Oregon Health Authority. Check the alert immunization information system to determine whether the patient needs the vaccine and any other vaccine. This is recommended, but not required.
Yeah, that's the only protocol that it says that for influenza administration only. All the other protocols use the other language.
This is board member Patel. I did check couple more, but they also have the same language. I like the language. The purpose of checking alert to me is like if you need any other vaccine, so I can give you that vaccine. Not punitive in nature.
So we have amended language here that is presented for us, and that would be a universal statement for all of the management of the protocols. And your contention, Board Member Patel, with the statement as written is clarify. What should it read? What do you suggest it reads instead?
I would suggest that check the alert immunization information system. If the alert is unavailable, the pharmacist can document. But patient statement, what if patient don't understand what alert is? And how can you tell patient? I don't know what patient is going to give statement. I don't get it.
So
Or
staff
maybe I
member
can
Davis,
understand.
this is very common. If a patient were to come in and the system was down and I were to say, have you had your flu shot yet this year? And they say no, that is their statement that they have not, and that I could go ahead with the vaccination.
Okay, so in that case, I would say patient consent to get the immunization instead of patient statement that I didn't receive that immunization.
Board Member Doyle consent would be willing to receive it, and it's not necessarily a notation of whether they had received it in the past or not.
Board member Patel, but again, that patient is receiving that consent form and they know what immunization they want. So why can't we accept that consent form as a patient statement? That patient.
You can.
So we
Not
have
all
to-
pharmacies use a consent form.
They must be using some sort of form, right? For the immunization, do you have fever? Do you have temperature and all of those things. Did you had any immunosuppressant?
Not always. Sometimes it's documented in the EHR and there's not a consent form.
Remember Doyle, we have two hands up. I saw Board Member Chin's hand up first. A response?
Member Chin. There's a difference between a patient's statement about whether or not they have received a vaccine and a patient's consent about having a vaccine. We don't have consent forms for our vaccines, and we do take patient statements because it's not always in alert. And so we take their patient's history. Do our vaccination.
I remember, but also it's like basically yes or no. Like, hey, have you had flu shot? You said no, that means I'm going to be flu shot. Okay, all right, makes sense.
Remember Beeman?
Remember being with you, remember Chen, I like this added in there. I think it's clear and it gives you the option to get the patient the vaccine that they need at the time they need it if alert is down. And know the intent of alert and the use of alert is not to say what else are you due for. It is to, there's other reasons to do so. It is helpful in that, but it is not 100%, even though the requirement is there to report. Oftentimes things are missed, patients' names are misspelled, they're entered wrong. It can become very hard to navigate if you get into certain cases. The requirement to check alert, I think in safety perspective of the patient is to make sure you're not duplicating or not giving that vaccine outside of the protocol and the recommended guidelines for the vaccines that, especially vaccines that require multiple doses. My one concern is, and I think that the statement will encompass it, is if we can ask the patient, have you had your flu shot this year if doing a flu clinic off-site, let's say, and they say, nope, not yet, that the pharmacist will be able to take that as documentation because flu shot clinics and other clinics are, you don't always have alert available, you don't, and you think I would feel safer rather than having somebody look up on their personal device with patient information into alert, having them take a patient statement saying and documenting that very clearly. But because of the one protocol that says it's recommended, not required, and this standard protocol makes it appear more required, I think we just need to have that carve out the flu shot, because it's a pretty big change to have it be recommended, not required. And I don't want patients who are used to getting their flu shots on site at their employer and making it easy for them to get it to be affected and not having pharmacies and pharmacists go out there to continue to do those clinics. So as long as our intent is the patient said, yes, I know I have not had my flu shot this year, that we will accept that and we will not be disciplining pharmacists assuming everything else goes right in this process for doing offsite.
Board Member Doyle, we've reviewed this package, the standard protocol for all vaccines, and the question was also asked of the board from Staff Member Davis. Any feedback on Rule 855-020-0300 or the protocols within? We've gone through a round table. We have the adjusted language if alert is unavailable, use documentation and patient statements. There has been discussion around the intent of that. So I open up the board if any additional changes or questions or want to be put forth by any board member, please signal by raising your hand. Board Member Vipperman.
Board Member Bipperman, I I had kind of a concern about the alert system. My concern was it's not a must. And that I wanted it to say must. However, I understand, thank you for, board member Beeman and board member Patel for your, comments, because you're right, we go out, we do, we go out to the school and we give these immunization clinics, and, I think the documentation piece is key. So that if there is a question, it's right there, this is what we need. So I appreciate all the, chat about that, so thank you very much.
Wasn't for any other comments or questions? Hearing and seeing none, that draws to conclusion and conversation about 855-020-0300. And which is C10. At this time, I would suggest that we take a break to eat. I asked the question of what is an appropriate time length? Does board staff require any amount of time for break?
Staff member Melvin, we believe it would be best to take a 30-minute lunch today based on the conversations and what we have left that we need to get through today, if that's agreeable.
The board members, are there any objections to the 30-minute lunch? Okay. And as I scan the room, it is 12:06. We will take a break and return in 30 minutes at 12:36.
Okay.
Me too. And I was like.